have been like really were young to think like if you ever become independent, you're gonna be like Cuba or Venezuela. So you could never do that, like ever. So a lot of them are like terrified of it, and that's why they want to like go to statehood because they're just terrified of independence. But it's like it's basically like 50-50, right? Like here 50% want to be like a state and the other 50% like want to stay how we are now, even though they agree how we are now is not sustainable, but they're like afraid of losing their culture. So yeah, that's deep.
I appreciate it.
Nice. I actually don't know anything about Puerto Rico. It'd be nice to have a conversation with you, like in depth about like the issues and politics of that. It'd be actually like a really interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Literally, if any of you guys ever want to talk about it, I will like gush about it because I'm very passionate about it.
It's super interesting because you're right. Like there are colonial kind of dynamics there, but it's a little more complex than just like straight oppression too. So.
Fucking sucks.
So I think we talked about this a little bit on the last podcast, but recently Bernie had his rally, and he had AOC show up and kind of like endorse him. Do we feel like this really does anything for his campaign? Like I don't know. How do we feel about this endorsement? Is it gonna help him win the polls or no?
I think the biggest problem impacting Bernie Sanders right now is the fact that he's not getting enough media coverage. There have been studies conducted on the amount of media coverage that Bernie Sanders has gotten in comparison to other candidates. I can't pull them up right now. I don't know. I don't remember the exact numbers, but there is still that disparity. Maybe not to the same extent that there was one in 2016. But this is a really good move because AOC is someone that liberals genuinely enjoy seeing on television. And if she starts delivering stump speeches alongside Bernie, then I think that's going to yield at least positive coverage from the mainstream outlets, which we know will end up swaying public opinion.
Nice. Does anybody disagree? Like, do you think this is like
I don't think it's going to make a significant difference at this point.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to matter, like, in the grand scheme. Like, I don't think it's going to make any kind of sensible difference, but maybe it'll bump them up a little bit.
It's still really early. Like, we're still months away from Iowa, so maybe something changes, but I don't know. It seems like this would have been a good momentum push early on. Like, Warren has all the momentum right now, but that might change come February.
Yeah, I think Warren is a really solid Iowa team. She has the same exact team that Barack Obama did, and that was really impactful for the Obama campaign, as some will recall. So people in my chat are saying Iowa polls don't matter at all. That's fucking absolutely incorrect. The Iowa polls are incredibly important. The Nevada polls are incredibly important as well, which Bernie is leading in, and has a solid, reliable lead in. Shocker, big Union state. But I think, yeah, I think like depending on the groundwork that Bernie's campaign is going to do in Iowa, and potentially New Hampshire, we shall see what happens. But that's in order for him to turn this around, he definitely needs to get positive media coverage, or media coverage that centers around his policies even, and not just like his heart attack, or not media coverage that says Elizabeth Warren is really good in this debate, or Joe Biden is really good in this debate, and then just like glance over Bernie Sanders' performance when he does have some good one-liners. So we shall see. But I'm not saying like Bernie's definitely for sure going to win. I'm not saying that at all. I've never maintained that position.
Hassan, can I ask
so
you
you
a
think? Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So one of the things I've been reading, and I'm curious, as a self-described Bernie bro, what you think about this? I've heard people say that he needs to go after Elizabeth Warren more actively. Like, how do you feel about that? Do you think that's true,
disagree.
or why so?
Well, because Elizabeth Warren is doing a really good job captivating some of the more moderate progressives, but she's doing an even better job, in my opinion, getting favorable media coverage and winning over the professional managerial class. If you look at like the independent donor details that were released recently, like there are a lot of people who are she's now securing small donors as well. Not to the extent that Bernie Sanders is, but like Elizabeth Warren has been able to captivate the liberal audiences, and I think that's incredibly valuable. And Bernie Sanders attacking her is only going to destroy that coalition that they've had right now. And I think it's better for him to maintain solidarity, at least for the time being.
Okay.
I feel
Makes
like as
sense.
things stand
Plus,
now.
he's a huge pussy. So, not to use misogynistic terms. Well, I am using misogynistic terms, but yeah, I'm edgy sometimes. Sorry.
I mean, his style has got him this far, so I mean, I understand.
I
that.
don't-
I
respect
mean,
what you think.
everything that's on the stage right now, it's something that kind of like originated from Bernie a couple years ago that he brought to the forefront. And right now, like as things stand, like I also agree that Bernie like being more aggressive towards Elizabeth Warren doesn't make much sense, especially like taking into consideration that I feel like there's like a common consensus that like okay, if you're for Elizabeth Warren first, but Bernie gets a nomination, you'll vote for him. But like you know, if Bernie
Yeah.
gets if the other way around, same thing. You'll vote for Elizabeth Warren.
The
So
problem
trying
is-
to like attack that and create a rift, I feel like is not the smartest move for either of them.
It felt like Bernie supporters were originally saying that, but it felt like they didn't mean it. It felt like now that Warren is like past Bernie in the polls or is on the verge of doing so, now like all of the crazy conservative attacks are coming out. Like if you've watched Kalinsky's Twitter about like Warren, holy shit! Like you've seen like a bunch of like really dumb shit. Like I've seen people attack her over like the Pocahontas stuff, like literally using those words. Like it's pretty crazy.
I
Well,
think
isn't it fair?
Commentators do is entirely separate from what the campaign does, though. And like as I have also admitted and have demonstrated, like different political commentators who support Bernie Sanders have different opinions on the matter.
Well, I was gonna say, isn't it fair to talk about the people that are like leading in the polls, like since they're like more and more relevant? Like I don't know, like there is an uptick about people like trying to like criticize Warren, but isn't that just kind of like because she's like
Criticizing Warren
in
is
the
fine,
lead?
but when you're starting to jump onto like the really cheap attacks, it feels a little dirty to me.
Well,
Well,
I mean,
what would you
we can
consider
talk
like
about
cheap
that.
attacks then?
Like calling her Pocahontas, I think is a
Pocahontas.
cheap attack. Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
oh,
Uh,
Especially when
about
most
people-
Democrats don't even care about or understand anything about like the Native American issues anyway. Yeah, it feels pretty tasteless.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I agree. I don't think I like Elizabeth Warren, so I don't want her to, and I'm biased. I don't want her to damage her reputation, and I don't want people to damage her reputation because ultimately, like, if the Bernie thing doesn't work out, like Elizabeth Warren, I think is light years ahead of any of the other candidates with her consistent track record and advocacy for consumer protection. So, again, I don't appreciate people like saying Pocahontas or whatever, especially because it's still somewhat racially charged, or definitely racially charged. But as far as like criticizing her background for being like, or for presenting herself as Native American, that's definitely going to be an issue that comes up regardless, no matter what.
Well, I mean, I know that. Let me actually. I have one more question for you guys. I'm curious about when we're talking about Democratic primaries. So I know that I have my candidate. I like Andy Yang. I want him to win, but I feel like I'm going to vote for whoever the Democratic nominee is because I mean that's. They're all infinitely better than we've got now, right? But one thing I've seen that I'm curious what y'all think about is how do you feel about the idea that conflict in the Democratic primary is setting Democrats back in the general election? Do you feel like that's fair to say?
I mean, if we had unity behind one person, it would definitely work out better. Yeah, but like, is the conflict justified for some of the political candidates? For sure. Like, definitely, like for Biden and Warren or Bernie, I don't care about the conflict. I definitely think there needs to be done. Yeah.
So,
Oh God,
I'm-
Biden is if Biden gets the nomination, I strongly believe Trump is going to win. I don't think there's going to be
it's
anyone.
even if Warren gets it, Trump could still win. Anything could happen.
Yeah,
like,
anything could happen. But...
the most vitriolic stuff that I remember in my lifetime in terms of like infighting during primaries, like people think that it's bad now, and maybe I just misremember, but man, Obama versus Clinton, that shit was fucking
Oh yeah.
brutal. And Obama
Yeah.
still like
Yeah.
landslid like that election, and he's black, so like he had a lot to overcome there, and he still did it.
She
So, I mean-
brought out the birth certificate, I think.
Yeah,
Didn't she?
I don't know if she did exactly, but it wouldn't surprise me if people in the Clinton camp were pointing towards it, or Clinton supporters were like,
Yeah.
that was a crazy vitriolic campaign that those
They
two
did
renegades-
bring out a photo of him wearing like traditional garb.
Oh, the,
and-
the
God.
whatever
Oh, right.
African
Yeah.
shit or
I
whatever.
remember that.
They did do that.
So I mean, after that, like people seem to chill. Like fucking Clinton was his Secretary of State. I mean, like they got back together afterwards. So. I think that like Trump is such a strong. If the Republican Party were united, I think this would be legitimate. But like Trump has caused quite the schism. We haven't seen those undercurrents as much, although it's starting to resurface a little bit with this Ukraine stuff. Trump has caused quite the schism in the Republican Party. So I don't think the Democrats have anything to be worried about being really toxic in the primaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that way too. I was just curious because I've been, again, been reading a lot.
Do you
I
guys
don't
not
mind.
feel?
I don't mind polarization in the primaries. Oh, sorry, Pixie, go ahead.
Do you guys wait? I'm honestly curious. Do you guys not feel like Biden's Hillary 2.0? Because like at least
Biden's worse than Hillary.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't.
Biden's worse than Hillary.
I feel like
don't know.
Hillary.
I think Hillary is really bad to me.
Yeah, like
I mean,
her a
Hillary is
hater.
Biden.
Hillary
bad.
was at least sharp. Like I feel like like you could have like a foreign policy debate with Hillary Clinton, and the amount of times a record player would be brought up would be zero. Like I think Hillary Clinton is like a pretty sharp person. Fuck man, Biden has like managed to stave off like the huge like dives in the polls, but god damn, sometimes like mentally he seems like he's on his last fucking leg. I don't know.
Destiny, I heard you say something like to the tune of the like Bernie blackout or whatever is almost as bad as like saying that there's like a Jewish conspiracy. Don't you feel like the media is, and this is not like a gotcha or anything, I genuinely want to hear your point of view on this because we haven't talked in a while. Don't you feel like Biden does get like an insane amount of support from the media, or did, especially in the aftermath of debates when people are paying attention to it?
I feel like it's easier to explain all of this by saying the media wants to make a lot of money, so they're going to show the most popular candidate, and since Biden is the most popular candidate, they're going to give him a fuck ton of airtime. The idea that like Bernie is being like, maybe there's some bias on the part of like individual reporters. I don't know where you've heard me talking about this. If you were listening to me talk about Trihex, Trihex specifically said that he thought that Bezos was pressuring the Washington Post not to publish articles like that. That's an insane level of conspiracy when we start to think that like, you know, like the CEOs of media companies are pressuring.
Wait, why is that extreme?
Manufacturing consent
That's
rather
extreme.
than like forcible.
I would say that's extreme because like that's just not how media works. Like media is like one of the most like leaky industries, and the amount of journalists that would be frothing at the mouth to write a hit piece on WAPO for engaging in that type of like journalistic disintegrity or unintegrity would be insane. Like there's no way that stuff like that is happening. Like I totally admit there could be like biases on like the individual reporters, sure, but I don't think there's some like top-down pressure to not report on Bernie. I just don't think
I
the
was gonna say,
journalistic industry can
don't
handle
you?
that.
No,
Don't you think the people that make the
manufacturing
hiring
consent.
decisions? Well, I was gonna say, well, don't you think the people that make the hiring decisions in these corporations like account for that? They like hire people that have these biases that support their capital interest, right? At the end of the day.
Well,
Yeah,
capital interest
you're
insofar as
100%
like they support like reporting on the popular candidates. Like it's undeniable that Biden isn't the most popular because of some big media conspiracy. He's popular because he was Obama's vice president, and because Obama is still really popular in the Democratic Party. Maybe not on Twitter, but like especially like in the South where a lot of black people live, and especially among poorer communities that don't have access to like online Twitter. That's where like Biden is pulling a lot of his major early support, and people just the media will show people what they want to see, which is the more likely reason why he's got so much airtime in my opinion.
But like, don't you think like there's a possibility that, or you like, okay, all I can think about is like in the last elections when it was Hillary Clinton versus like Bernie Sanders, when the polls came after the debates, a lot of them were saying that like, oh, Bernie Sanders did better in the debating than Hillary Clinton, and then a bunch of them got wiped off and were replaced with like internal analysis polls or whatever, like from CNN or whatever, where like the public couldn't really vote on it. Really sketchy shit, right?
So I don't want to like, and I'm not going to accuse you of anything because I don't know, but like the thing that I would caution here is that like for me to believe that, I would need to very carefully sift through stories to see if this actually happened. And I understand this is going to be an upsetting analogy, but like this is the exact same type of questions that are usually posed by Jewish conspiracy theory people. That there's like a massive top-down conspiracy that's rewriting news stories, that's pressuring from the top, like some shadowy corporate agency that's like making all like you have to just because of how dude, I fucking had lunch with a Huffington
Can I
Post
ask you
writer
a
the other
question
day.
about this?
Wait. Like there's like a very fundamental level of misunderstanding that you have to think that there could be top-down pressure from either the DNC or from CEOs on journalistic outlets and actually like influence every single writer. Like these are some of the most powerful unions in the country. I don't think that kind of stuff will happen.
Wait, what's the most powerful unions in the country?
Some of the journalistic unions.
Okay, one that's not correct, but hold on. It's not about like what Mindwaves was saying. It's not about that at all. It's more so about the hiring practices. It doesn't start from the top down with like people literally saying, "Oh, if you write about Bernie, I'm gonna fucking shit can you." That can happen, but those would usually be like total one-off instances, and they get a little bit of coverage here and there, and then people forget about it. What does actually end up happening is people know to play by the rules. Cenk has, I mean, this is an anecdote, but Cenk has personal experience with this. There is definitely it's not even a conspiracy, and Noam Chomsky has written extensively on this as well in a book, in his famous work, Manufacturing Consent. Networkers hire reporters that they know are going to play ball with their capital interests. and that's how it goes.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just think that capital interest means reporting on who's popular, not that, like, for instance,
No,
if Bernie
no,
were to
no, no.
become more
Well,
popular,
Well,
I
it
think they
could
would
take other
report it.
forms. Don't you agree that it could take other forms than just reporting on like whoever's popular?
Maybe the people I've talked to have just been too biased, but I'd be super interested in hearing other conversations from journalists, not like people that work at the Intercept, but people that like work like in industry, like New York Times or WAPA writers, or maybe you would say those
People
people
that
are
work in the
already like.
are people that work in the industry, though. I mean, they started off in the Guardian and stuff, like Glenn Greenwald, who I disagree with all the time on.
Yeah, I
things,
just
like literally all like fucking mainstream media reporters, every single one of them. But hold on, the thing I wanted to ask you is, then why do you think that there was an overwhelming amount of positive coverage on Elizabeth Warren for such a long time, and then and it centered around how she had a policy for things, and then as soon as she picked up in the polls as a consequence of that, then the coverage is still pretty positive, to the tune, like I would even consider it to be like puff pieces. Coverage is now still pretty positive, but like whenever Bernie Sanders comes out with progressive policies, I've literally heard commentators on television say, "Oh, he's coming out with another, he's coming out with another program. Oh,
Well,
who's he attacking next?"
for the exact same reason you just said that like online people might be commenting more on Warren than they did before, because Warren is becoming more popular. She's starting to draw support from a whole bunch of different coalitions, and now they're reporting on it more.
But this started the Frederick Douglass stuff. Like all of this started.
Wait, what do you mean it
way
started before?
Elizabeth Warren. So Elizabeth Warren was beloved almost universally by the media class.
Well, wait.
she would get-
Elizabeth Warren was loved by the media class because the only issue, and now I might be politically ignorant here, but from what I remember, pretty much the only thing Elizabeth Warren was known for was like massive, it was education reform that she wanted to do student loan forgiveness, and the Consumer Protection Bureau, whatever that she wrote. Those are, and I could be wrong, but those are the only two things that I remember ever being reported on. Nobody disagreed with
No,
those.
they covered her. They covered her like the famous. She has a plan for that. That was covered pretty
Wait,
extensively.
I'm talking
Now we're
prior to the,
broaching into-
I'm talking prior to the election season. These
The
were like the
only
two
other
big
thing-
things.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the only other thing I can think of prior to the election was the "nevertheless she persisted" bit with Mitch McConnell.
Sure,
I don't know if you guys
yeah.
remember that. But...
Yeah, no, I'm talking the election season when she was sometimes in like 4th place or 3rd place, and the matchups would literally avoid Bernie Sanders, and it would say what's going to happen in the next debate between Elizabeth Warren and Joe Biden. And then as soon as she got to 2nd place and even in the 1st place in some polls, they now had a valid reason not to cover Bernie Sanders, but before that they didn't, and yet they still didn't really engage in much Bernie coverage, and instead constantly praised Elizabeth Warren for.
So like, I don't even know if I agree with that. Like, and this is something like I wish I need to spend more time like digging into the data, because like I really try to stay away from this like super conspiratorial stuff. But like Bernie has had a ton of engagement with media. Like the idea that like there's like a Bernie media blackout, I could do more research into this. I threw a link in chat for like an Axios thing that I guess like analyzes like headlines for media, but like the idea that Bernie is like hidden from the media, I don't think that's true. Maybe we can go deeper and say, well, does Bernie get bad coverage versus good coverage? Although I mean, I would argue like any coverage is probably good in this media environment, as we saw with Trump. I don't know. I feel like people are paying more attention to Elizabeth Warren now. They're more critical, because when Warren came in, Warren was a bottom tier shitter stuck in with all the other candidates, and she couldn't break out. She was at like 6%, I think, when she came in, and then she very slowly has been peeling away and has now come to like almost front runner status. And now people are talking about her more. I don't think there's anything super unnatural about that for for-profit driven media companies that are just trying to show people who they support already.
So
Okay.
there's just
Well, I mean, again, like I
comment.
said, then it avoids the. I guess you need to look into it a little bit more, and I'll try to find some evidence for you as well. But that doesn't cover why there was so much positive media coverage on Warren for such a long time when she wasn't the most popular candidate.
Well, don't a lot of the times, a lot of people like new faces when it comes to politics as well. New faces, especially those that are platforming, because Elizabeth Warren,
Yeah,
for
remember
a
when
long
Pete
time,
got jerked off? Like, he could speak 20 languages. Like, people jerked
Oh,
off
yeah,
Pete a
that's
lot
true.
when he was initially there as well. But I don't think it was because there was some, like, I don't think it was a big conspiracy about anti-whatever interest. I think it's just a new face, and people just want to show people new things, so people
Yeah.
like their shit more.
You were saying irrelevant?
Yeah, so it's a new face platforming off of a winning strategy for the most part, right? Recognition that Bernie Sanders' strategy more or less was a winner, and that it was a new face propping up that same ideology. Why not give that face time? That seems to hit numbers pretty well.
So I just wanted to make like a quick comment about like the thing that you linked. I only was able to like skim it right now very quickly. But yeah, Bernie Sanders has a lot of social media interaction because like a lot of his followers and supporters are grassroots, right? And part of that is like tweeting extensively and like sending as many Facebook requests as you can and like Instagram everywhere. So it wouldn't be like surprising to say that he does have a lot of social
Oh,
like
never mind. Hold
media
on.
interaction.
Yeah,
in
no, no,
that
no, no. Wait, I
sense.
want to walk this back completely. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize this was just social media engagement. No, you're right. This has nothing to do with mainstream media. I should have been like this. That was my bad. I should have checked this first. You're right.
That's fine. Yeah, and then I guess like the other point, like I also like try not to be like too like crazy conspiracy theorist person, but also just like I just can't help looking at like sites like Fox News, right, which are like super obvious and biased and like have like no regard for the truth, and we'll just put like whatever candidate like brings them like the most views ideologically or whatever, which aligns with their like profit and interest. And like we know like these major corporations or like these major news outlets, they're not independent, right? They're owned like by bigger companies that would probably be like fucking terrified if like a Bernie Sanders like actually won. So yeah, like I do agree with you that I would have to do like more exact research about it and like make sure I have like the exact numbers. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that like to me it's just like not this super far-fetched like conspiracy theory idea, especially when we see it like already happening with other like news sources. Yeah, that they will put like a candidate forward and like freaking preach it if it benefits their corporate interest.
What do you think about this, Bessier?
Yeah, I guess I've worked on political campaigns before, and recently, and I think that I have seen that large corporations, especially corporations with some kind of monopoly market power, do have the ability to twist a certain amount of news coverage in some ways. I'm skeptical that they're able to do so with respect to traditional mainstream, quote unquote mainstream media outlets like the Washington Post, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, with respect to, and so on and so forth. With respect to a political like a presidential campaign, I just think that the scale is just so different.
Too many people involved.
Yeah. So, but I do think that on the smaller scale, like for example, a lot of towns in the United States, and this is one of the problems with the rise of the internet. A lot of cities in the United States now have one hometown newspaper or like none.
Yeah.
And that one hometown newspaper depends on advertising revenue, and so in a way, they're very, very subject to to corporate influences. So I think that kind of thing is possible. I'm just skeptical that it and
Hello? Is that me? Gotta go pee real quick.
Holy shit. Okay.
Oh shit, sorry,
All
what's
right.
up? Are we back?
Yeah, we're back. Holy shit, yeah. I think Discord just glitched or whatever the fuck, but yeah.
Pixie, that link you just posted about Sinclair's script for stations, that is such a good one with respect
Yeah,
to like
for local
Yeah.
media shit.
yeah.
Fucking
Yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah. I mean, and that is I think an example of a little bit of what I was talking about too. And it's for folks who haven't seen that before. I think it's worth pasting in the chat because it's definitely worth a watch.
All right. I actually kind of want to like, since we're talking about journalism, I think we're like the only other topic that's kind of like relevant to that we could segue to is the Mark Zuckerberg one. With all of these sort of like meetings that he's had and like all the testimony he's done in front of Congress and all that shit. So apparently there's been some stories coming out that he's been having some secretive meetings, I guess in his own home in some instances, with people like Lindsey Graham and Tucker Carlson and the like. And there's been this huge controversy about like how Facebook's being managed, how like Facebook is allowing people to just like run blatantly false political ads on their shit, and there's been some concern about like, well, should we be like regulating social media like Facebook and like how they allow political ads on their platforms? Are we concerned that there's like possibly any bias here with Mark Zuckerberg and like whether or not he allows these sort of like false ads, as they're being called, on Facebook?
I think he's just trying to avoid getting regulated, and it seems like he's figured out the easiest way to do it is probably convince a few powerful Republicans that he's fair and balanced, and therefore he can stave off the threat of maybe an investigation from the FCC or so on and so forth. So
Or
this
not
seems like
even
he's trying to
fair.
cover his bases.
I'm kind of curious, like, and I don't know the answer to this, but like, is this really abnormal behavior? So, as an example to this, like, a lot of people talk about how, following for 1 second, like FOIA requests, Freedom of Information Act requests. People say like, well, these kinds of requests, they're just a rubber stamp because like 99% of them get approved. But the reason why most of them get approved is because like the legislators and like the police like work really close with each other or federal authorities to make sure that like, hey, this is going to be in the up and up before we even put it in. So like my question is like, is this normal behavior that like really wealthy like media people probably regularly have meetings with people in Congress so that everything isn't like legislated like publicly beforehand, or is this actually like super abnormal? Because it doesn't surprise me at all that like the owner of a platform like that large would also be talking to like people in Congress and shit, or regularly like investigating or like talking about the effects that these things have.
I mean, it's nothing new in the sense of like, private companies like going to basically like the government, like trying to like low-key lobby in like different ways to pass legislation in their favor. I just feel like this has become like a bigger story because we know how like Facebook has like influenced the election. We know like Russian interference, and we know like how like I guess like how dangerous the social media platform is, and like how much of a threat it can actually be to democracy. So even though it's like technically nothing new in the sense of like, oh yeah, it's a company going over and like trying to like influence like Congress, it is something new in the sense that like, oh my god, this company is like theoretically a threat to democracy if things got bad enough,
I agree. I wonder if this would even be a story if it wasn't about all the Cambridge Analytica stuff. If that story and everything hadn't gotten big, maybe we wouldn't even care about this. I'm not sure.
Also, like, quick side comment or whatever, like, Yang had, like, a 3-head IQ take when it came to that stuff. Like, do you guys know what he tweeted? Do you remember?
What did he tweet?
He was, like, he sent a tweet in response to that being all, like, I think it's good that, any, like, social media or CEO talks to different people, with different points of views or whatever. And it was referring to the whole Facebook scandal. And it was like, come on, Mark Zuckerberg is not meeting with, like, I don't know, like Burr or other high-profile Republicans to learn about different points of views, right? He's doing it to save his own ass.
Well, hey, whatever his reason for doing it. I mean, ultimately, I think that probably Republicans took it that way, as though he's trying to understand their point of view, make them feel heard, and ultimately that may not mean much objectively, but to him it means a lot because that makes them that much less likely to regulate. So,
Well,
you just got to make these handful of powerful Republicans feel better, and they'll hold back.
True. Like, how do we feel about like the political ramifications of allowing Facebook to host these political ads, which can
It was FISA, not FOIA. I'm sorry.
With the First Amendment.
For advertisements, I imagine you probably could, yeah.
It's
Well, like-
false advertising, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
it would depend though, like if it's in any way subjectively false, I just don't know.
Sure, yeah, subjectively false, yeah, but I don't know what misinformation is being referred to. I don't use fucking Facebook because I'm not, 50 years old. But,
Well, like if it were something that might be slanderous or libelous or some kind of violent incitement, but I think for the most part, Facebook is probably screening most at least the violent stuff out, and the falsehoods there would be falsehoods that I think would just be, like climate change denial, which, bad, but I don't know that you could ever regulate it out of existence.
Well, Destiny or Hassan, like, what do you guys think about like regulating these sorts of like political ads on social media that like have blatant misinformation, like blatant lies?
Hasn't Facebook already started like trying to do like misinformation or like
I think it was just on Instagram.
no, they've stated like publicly that they're basically okay with campaign advertisements that are misinformed. That's why Elizabeth Warren launched like a whole like anti-campaign to that and has started putting like false advertisements about like Mark Zuckerberg and shit like that.
Well, like the scary part about regulating that is if you get like some sort of chilling effect that essentially bans all political advertisements. So like when you start talking about like misinformation, we're gonna have to like, in order to talk about that, we're gonna have to reconcile the different worlds that Republicans and Democrats inhabit right now. So like for instance, like a climate change political ad is gonna be challenged by conservatives that are gonna say, oh well, climate change isn't real. You know, or like an ad showing like the downsides of like single payer healthcare might be challenged by the Democrats, saying like, oh well, these claims are hysterical, these aren't real. That would be really hard to regulate. I'm not sure.
I mean,
What do you think irrelevant? Or go ahead, Pixie. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I guess you could like draw the line when it becomes like slanderous to like a political candidate, right? Like Elizabeth Warren is for late-term abortions.
Oh,
which-
even on that, you actually you can actually. It's almost impossible to get somebody on slander or defamation of public figures. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Political
have a
ads.
much higher
Political
legal
ads. You can
standard.
literally lie. It's fair
Yep.
game.
You can say that, and because they would, because there's a standard called the actual malice standard. In order for them to prosecute you for slander or defamation, not only do they have to prove that what you wrote was false, they have to prove that you knew it was false when you wrote it. It's very, very, very hard to successfully sue for defamation or slander for public figures. Almost impossible, intentionally so.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine, like, I don't like misinformation, but it seems pretty fucking impossible to probably regulate it away very practically without, like, top to bottom, massive amounts of information reform in our country, so.
To be fair, for me, I wouldn't mind that. I think that'd be interesting to see some kind of like fucking call it the Ministry of Truth, even just for fucking memes. To see some kind of like huge reform, because I do
Well-
genuinely believe that the path that we're on right now, with the way that we handle media, is self-destructive. That our democracy right now is dysfunctional at like the most fundamental level because we can't evaluate like what's real and what's false. And part of what contributes to that are corporations that have a lot of technology and a lot of financial incentive to lie to people.
Well, I mean, I think that's true. I don't think the government could do much about it, but I know Facebook is like trying to set up a Supreme Court internally where they're going to do a lot of what they're going to try and do a lot of what we've been discussing.
Yeah, but Facebook has no financial incentive to actually
Well,
show us truth. Facebook just
I
has enough financial incentive to keep the government off their back. That's all they're incentivized to do.
I think that counts
Right.
for a lot, though. I mean, I think you're right, but that counts for a lot with the way that people on both sides are taking.
Look at where we're at
shots
right now, though. I don't think it's helped. We haven't
It
gotten.
takes time.
I mean,
It-
what
But
do
we
we
don't
do?
have time,
What if-
though. That's the problem.
well, I
Then
mean,
we
I
have, like,
may be there with you, but
Yeah,
I mean,
like
one of the
in the
I-
sense that we could just like lower. Sorry for interrupting. We can
No,
just
it's
like
alright.
lower the bar for when it comes to, I guess, like public corporate and not public corporations, right? Like
Mhm.
Facebook, or for example, like allowing ads on there instead of like having to prove like, oh, you knew it was like malicious or whatever. We can just like lower the bar to like, you know, blatantly false, right? Things that we like can kind of like use like almost common sense to know. What do you guys feel about that?
Well, everyone's gonna argue. There is no such thing as common sense, right? Not when you're talking to
Right.
political shit. Like people are gonna fight to the death over every single thing you try to. Bring
Well, I
them
was
to.
gonna pass that
Okay.
off to Bastia because he's the lawyer here. What do you think about the?
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, to get to that point earlier, I mean, I know that Elizabeth, she is, I guess at the moment we're thinking consensus here, at least, she's the likeliest Democrat to win. And she is talking about breaking Facebook apart. So, I mean, the political process is slow, but I mean, I think they really are feeling the heat. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. What else were we? Oh, cause like, fuck. Where was I in my notes?
Hassan, are you okay? What's going on?
No,
Oh,
he's trying to
never mind.
milk Twitch Primes over on his
Oh.
channel, I think.
Mad respect.
Oh
Milking
yeah,
it.
because there was some there was I guess after the media was like calling out some like false ads that were appearing on Facebook, Warren also made like an ad that apparently contained like some false information. People were saying it was like somewhat of a clapback. I posted a link with the article about it in the topics list, but I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I didn't see it, actually.
Yeah, which one were you referencing, Mindwaves?
I think that's the CNET link.
Okay. Oh, Elizabeth Warren runs a false Facebook ad.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
one.
I mean, I think you could argue that's a political statement itself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if everybody else is doing it and it seems to be working, right? Like maybe
Well,
you
I mean,
could
and
do it
she's-
just to increase exposure,
Mhm.
what have you.
she's like trying to do it to make a point, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, you can just do a double whammy there, show to prove a point, and also to get your name out there. So if anything, that's actually just good marketing.
Sure.
Can I ask like a question that's a little bit like not related to this, but related to this at the same time?
Sure,
Or-
yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to like the topic of censorship, do you guys believe that the government should like basically censor or get rid of like echo chambers, like of like let's say I don't know neo Nazis or shit like that? Are you guys in favor for that? Against that? Like, what do you think?
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and jump in and throw my 2 cents in. I usually try to like stay somewhat objective on this, but like this topic specifically, I don't know. I'm even uncomfortable with like the government being able to like label who is or is not like a terrorist organization, because oftentimes that's used for like political purposes to like snuff out any sort of like I don't know,
Yeah,
like movement.
black identity extremists versus white supremacist terror, right?
Right. So like I don't know, like I don't know how you would really like tackle that. You have to ask the question like, well, how do we identify these groups, and like do we really trust the government to like identify these groups accurately?
Nah, yeah, I think it's dangerous.
Fuck that shit. I go full in the other direction. So I don't care about like hate speech and all that shit. I don't think people should do it, but I don't think it should be illegal. What should be illegal is engaging in gross misinformation. Whether you are doing disinformation campaigns intentionally or you're engaging with the subject matter in such an irresponsible manner that you contribute to the spread of misinformation, I think that one of the biggest threats to the foundation of our democracy is people's inability to like exist in the real world. And I think that online disinformation contributes to that greatly. So people like Alex Jones, people like Sargon of
Right.
Akkad, people like every single motherfucker at Fox News, like these types of people that whose whole purpose is to just sell bullshit and to lie and to misrepresent things. Everybody that spreads shit about Pizzagate, Uranium One, like this type of shit, fuck all that shit. And
How do you combat that though?
put a fucking literal Ministry of Truth together and say, hey, you're banned from this shit or else we're gonna shut down your company. It's like it's
I
really
don't know how I
aggressive.
feel about that.
I know that it's really bad, but like I literally think that like we are on the precipice of like different realities, physical realities emerging from where we live today in the United States, because so many people are so fucking out there in terms of what they think is real or not. Like I have talked to so many people who live in entirely different, like these are people like
think of
imagine
flat earthers
like
and shit.
yeah, like imagine like the like the conservatives' mythical Mexican immigrant. This is a guy that comes to the United States, steals 3 white jobs, manages to like also steal welfare simultaneously, all while not having a social security number, and then like he moonlights as an MS-13 rapist. Like there's no possible way to have like reasonable conversations with these people, and the people that contribute to like disinformation are destroying our ability to have a conversation. It's absolutely fucking insane.
Well, I mean, I just want to say 2 points about that. One, I do feel like what we're going through is definitely unique in American history, but I do think it's a phase that's going to pass as people get a better handle on the internet.
Wait, why do you think that?
Mesh it in with our society. I think that I mean the internet seems to be driving a lot of this stuff, and I think it's a generational shift in understanding. I mean, I feel like a lot of this stuff, a lot of the conspiracies that you're talking about, are especially circulated by boomer types who are. This is a real new communication medium.
No
for them.
way.
I mean, not
When you look at like the
exclusively. I
Charlottesville rally,
disagree.
those are young people,
no,
man.
you're
That's the
right,
scary
but
part.
I think that's a relative minority, and I feel like
But
the
it's a
bigger
dangerous
point is.
minority.
I agree, it is dangerous, but imagine if you have this Ministry of Truth in the federal government, and you've got Donald Trump in charge of it. I mean, it feels like a real danger. I mean, any legal considerations aside, because of course unconstitutional. But that aside, just imagining President Trump with an organization like that, it's
Alright,
spooky.
Should I? This is my 2 cents on it, right? Everybody like freaks out about like, oh, but the government drawing the line, but I feel like that line is pretty much like drawn by itself. People advocating for mass violence, period.
Sure, but that's
right.
You're absolutely right. But I think, advocacy of violence is already like incitement to violence is already a crime.
Well, direct, not
Exactly.
indirect,
So
it
why
seems.
are why if we know that like these echo chambers do actually like lead to greater violence and do lead to like mass shootings and do actually incite violence, even though it's just a line, it should be prosecuted as such. So the question is like, why aren't we doing that?
That just feels so subjective to me. I mean, look at the discussion that I was having earlier with Hassan.
I was
about,
almost moved to violence in a video game.
Where like we were having a real disagreement about like communism, for example, and the issues of that aside. I mean, is the Ministry of Truth going to make a call on that? And I mean, if it is, it's making a serious, it's seriously involving itself in American politics in ways that I feel like just can't help but be destructive. Maybe helpful at first, but long term, government agencies have a very long lifetime, and I feel like the arc of that kind of agency would be toward injustice.
I mean, there's a very big difference between arguing for and against an economic system and somebody saying, I want to kill all Jews and black people. Like, you see, there is a line.
Sure.
I mean, I think it's easy to draw that line for now, but I think that that's a line that will not be easy to draw in practice.
I do want to say, because Destiny brought up like the whole Ministry of Truth thing. Like the thing is like I'm so like I don't know, how would we even form this? Would it be democratic, and how do we make sure that like the government doesn't use this to like snuff out like any opposition?
I mean,
right?
you'd have
Or,
to have it
use
like
for
agreed
like political
upon.
purposes.
It would be like you'd nominate like judges from both sides, and then the judges would come together to nominate. Maybe you have like both sides nominate 3 judges, and then those 6 judges nominate like 3 more, and then you make a decision. I don't know how you'd do it, but even if it was like less good than what we had now, I would be okay with like trying to move in that direction, because I think that what we have right now will lead to the destruction of like the first world. Like, I think that our inability to process what is actually happening is so fucking bad that like shit is fucked.
Do you think that there's any way we could combat this with like education?
No.
Like at all? Like,
You're fighting
no?
against capital interests, right? The problem is that large corporations that control a lot of fucking money have unprecedented power and tools to show you information that makes them money. That like the profit incentive is there. That there's no possible way you're going to fight against that with education. That has to be like a government intervention approach. It's the clearest example of a market failure I can ever see. Like, the externality of people not understanding what is real or fake is absolutely real. You don't get punished in a financial sense for it, so the government has to step in and do something about it. Otherwise, capital interests there will drive the country into fucking ruin.
Do you think that
I was gonna say, we got a new arc.
Do you think maybe if you could just break down maybe the size of some of these companies? I mean, Facebook and Google and so on are really unique also, and just how large and all pervasive they are. So maybe that's the problem that needs to be addressed.
The problem is you would assume, so the goal there is you would assume that competing like firms in a market would be competing on their truth or honesty, and that through market forces would dictate a success or vice versa. But the problem is you're not rewarded for telling the truth in this market when it comes to media. Media is not really journalism, it's entertainment. And what you get rewarded for is showing the most entertaining stories. So if I can show you a nuanced view of why we may or may not have a good presence into the Syria versus showing you a story about how like Hillary sold all of our uranium to Russia, I'm running to that with a Russia story 10 out of 10 times, and every single outlet will do it. Nobody wants to see fair and balanced media. Everybody makes fun of NPR. Nobody cares about that shit. They want to see fucking Trump screaming at a camera. They want to see Bernie saying, I wrote the damn bill. That's what they want to see, like, over anything else. Like, that's why anytime somebody else from another country watches American media, their first comment is like, dude, this is like fucking pro wrestling. Holy shit, your guys' shit is like amped up to fucking 12. Like, it's crazy.
I guess I just feel like, one, that I don't know how new that is in the United States. The big difference seems to be that now with the internet, anybody can chime in. But
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
in
not
the
that it's
past,
new. The problem is capital has aligned with unprecedented power to shape your reality. Here's what happened before. If I'm Jane and I think that the world is flat and I walk outside, every single person I talk to is gonna call me a dumb fuck. And that view is going to be real fucking hard to hold on to. If I believe some crazy conspiracy shit, if I'm Tom and I walk around and I say, like, I think blah, 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 that's going to be real hard to hold on to, unless my whole community believes it. But nowadays on the internet, I can believe whatever the fuck I want, and I can find some community. Not only can I personally find a community that will accept me and reinforce my belief, there is actual capital interest that's aligned with siphoning me into that community to maximize the amount of time my eyes are glued onto a terminal so that they can force feed as many advertisements and Nike commercials down my fucking brain as possible. Like, that technology and capital combination combined with that, I don't know if you call it a moral hazard or whatever, is fucked. And it's only getting worse and worse. And we've all seen this, right? Go click on, you accidentally click on like maybe one of my debate videos mentioning Ben Shapiro. The next 15 YouTube comments, Ben Shapiro eviscerates disabled war veteran. Stefan Molyneux absolutely fucking annihilate. Like, you get like, and you'll get like sucked into those holes for 20 hours. Or how many times people in this fucking call, I guarantee you, at least half people in this call have been awake at night, have opened their fucking phone at 2:30 a.m. and then clicked like on one Reddit post, and then 3 hours later you're like, what the fuck am I doing on my phone? Holy shit, well, how have I been on Reddit for 3 hours, right? Like, technology is just driving us in such a negative way that I don't see it going backwards without significant government intervention. Sorry, that's my spiel on that.
I can't even say anything. You've already made every leftist position possible on this. It's like, I mean, this is literally the same argument that we were making. Wait, what happened? Hello?
I think my stream's getting cucked right now,
Oh.
actually.
Okay, this is literally what we were talking about in regards to manufacturing consent and why like Bernie doesn't get the same amount of coverage that other people get, or like favorable coverage. For the record, I think you went too far left, and then they took out your stream.
The what are they
Fucking
called?
Bezos is after you.
The War on Warriors. They're out, dude.
Oh no.
That's still recharging.
Okay. Well, how much longer do we have? Because I gotta go back.
Yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up right now. I don't even think I'm gonna open up the chat for questions. Let me try to hold on. I'm picking a different server right now, and I'm gonna try to go live again because I think fucking I don't know what the fuck's happening.
Yet another instance of Bernie discussion being cut down
I'm gonna use the restroom real quick.
by liberal
Censor.
media.
All right. I think yeah.
I think it
Yeah,
worked.
anybody that fucking got cucked on the stream, just refresh. All right, guys. Holy shit.
It'd be like that.
It be like that sometimes.
Jeff Bezos
Dude, I was
doesn't
supposed to have
quit.
3 conservatives on here today. One of them fucking dipped out for pussy. The other one fucking, like fucking, like had internet issues, which is like really unfortunate. And then like, I don't know, none of them ended up coming through. It's like really unfortunate.
It happens.
It fucking happened.
Damn. I wonder what they would think about the N-word debate.
I know. One of them was a
Oh,
black
God.
conservative, so I don't know.
True, Senator Sykes didn't even
Yeah.
fucking message me, dude. Feels
Yeah.
bad.
Pretty happy wasn't associated with many of those takes, possibly. I don't know.
Dude,
know what
I
he
am
said.
so sorry, Irrelevant, for how shitty you got treated today. Like, that
Oh,
was
no,
actually really fucked.
It's not on you, dude. It's not on you, dude.
I mean, it kind of is. I kind of have to, like, moderate this shit, but holy shit, I did not expect the fireworks that we got tonight. But I guess, I don't know, maybe I should have.
I don't know where Bastier went.
I think his internet's getting cucked, too. Alright. There he is.
I could have predicted that.
Sorry about that, folks.
Well, no, the thing is that like I don't know. I thought the conversation could have been like a lot more productive than it actually was. I thought like the people that I had on were like more willing to engage with like good faith arguments rather than just I don't know screaming at each other.
Mind Rage, do you mind if I respond to Destiny's point? I didn't hear all of Destiny's point.
Yeah, go ahead, buddy.
Sorry about that. I got knocked off. My local internet is provided by a monopoly that needs to be broken up.
True.
So, look, I get you that this is a real problem, and I do think that democracy is a threat. I just feel like the kind of organization that you're proposing, it just feels like more of a threat to democracy. I do feel like Marcus has had some impact on journalistic integrity. I do feel like we're seeing a lot more like fact-checking stories about like, hey, here's what really went on. Here's the second layer. A lot more analysis that I think just wasn't there when facts were taken for granted. So I mean, I do think there's some positive steps in the right direction, but I mean, I do agree it's a tough problem now.
Wait, do you like Fox News?
No, but you know, I mean,
Well, Fox News is Fox News is the walking embodiment of the market working in an ineffective
Yeah,
fashion.
no,
If our goal for efficiency is truth.
Sure. I mean, I get what you're saying, and I mean, for the most part, you're right. But even there, I mean, Chris Wallace, Shepard Smith, back before he left. I mean, there are some, even at Fox News now, reporters who
You
are
just
pushing
named, like,
back on
the-
Trump administration
The
officials.
only 2 Fox News guys that did it. Okay.
I know,
Like,
but for what it's worth,
And look at
previously it was
and
less
again,
than
the
that.
market, if the market dictated, they would have, like when the market dictates who gets top billing, as it does currently over at Fox News, Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity have top billing.
Yeah.
Shepard Smith is forced to do midday streams, midday coverage, and Chris Wallace as well on I think Sundays, right?
Look, I mean, I'm not trying to say it's perfect, but I'm saying, one, that it's happening, and I think it's better than where it used to be, say, 2 years ago, and 2, that I think it's better than the alternative that's proposed, some kind of government remediation.
Yeah, I don't know. I think state news is oftentimes just broadcasting propaganda, and I feel like the American state would 100% do.
I'm not
like,
a big fan, not of state news, but of state-funded news. I think is okay. I think it's a step in a better direction. I trust the BBC over like Fox News.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for
as,
sure.
as tempted as I am to disagree with that, there is some, I think, argument that another big change is that now we get our news from an entity that has no government involvement, mostly the internet, or very limited government involvement compared to in the past, where a lot of it was put out by 3 tightly regulated networks who were regulated because, the broadband spectrum only has so much space, so you had to have some sort of regulation to get onto it. So, I mean, there is less kind of effective control by the government now than there was. I feel like that itself was kind of a unique exception in American history. Prior to that, I mean, news was unregulated too. So.
All right. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up for today, guys. Unless anybody else has any fucking, I don't know, dude. This podcast is
you
a
have fun
fucking
tonight,
shit
dude?
show.
What did you? Is this what
I
you
don't
wanted,
know.
bro?
It- I don't know. I don't know what the fuck I wanted out of this fucking thing anymore. But
A lot of people wanted
yeah.
to talk about it, and I mean, I was, I was kind of quiet during all that, but I definitely saw those views ticking up. I mean, they doubled, So
I mean,
it
yeah.
was a lot of people.
grift waves at it again. Just that's how it goes.
No, that's not a grift. I mean, you've got a platform here that allows us to talk to each other, and people can listen to compelling stuff. That's not grift. I mean,
Honestly, you had quite a bit of black people on. There was probably no better time to talk about it, really.
The
It
most black
actually
people
happened
Twitch has ever had on at one point.
on a podcast.
Probably.
Probably not wrong on that one, actually.
I really want to make like a fighting games like tournament joke, but I'm not going to.
Oh my gosh.
Shit, not with my reputation.
I don't know, dude. The way that people came into this debate, I already knew it was gonna be a shit show just from like the posturing and the way that people are like reacting with each other. I was like, holy shit, are we here for a conversation or like you guys actually just coming in for the dunks? Like,
It might have been possible with the commandant. Is that the guy's name?
Quarantine. Yeah,
Quarantine?
I think
It
he was
might have been
encouraged by the
possible.
other dude.
Yeah, I think in a one-on-one scenario, I might be able to talk, or not a one-on-one, but like in a podcast with him, but with the other dude that he was kind of like, he had to like endorse. Dude, holy shit, there was no fucking way.
I agree. There's definitely something to that dynamic. I don't know what the fuck it was. And Quarantine usually doesn't act like that. It's like really out of character, but I don't know. It's whatever.
For the record, I just want to say something for everyone who's saying like, oh, Hassan just fucking came on just to like dunk on Destiny. 1, I asked Mind Waves ahead of time so that he could ask Destiny if it was okay. And 2,
Yeah, true.
no, my intention wasn't to just like fucking come in and dunk on Destiny. Aside from like the obvious memes, but
I agree. I agree.
I-
That's not my
I-
perspective.
Wait,
I
Mind
haven't
Waves
said
never asked
anything,
me
like-
about shit. What the fuck?
wait, he didn't?
Shut the fuck up, you liar.
Okay.
Nice
I was
meme,
like,
okay.
Hey, ask Destiny if he's okay with it before I come on. Like, I don't want to fucking.
All right, Destiny, you want me to leak more logs? Is that what you?
Hey, don't even make those jokes. Yeah, yes, he did ask.
dude.
Chill. Oh my god.
It's all right, dude. Yeah. So I don't know. I want to thank everybody that came on today. Hassan, I do want to say you're you're an asshole, right? I've been trying to reach out to you for fucking weeks now, and then I get
Am I
Destiny
an
on.
asshole? What do you
and-
mean, bro? You use my self promo channel in Discord, okay? Apparently it's okay. Apparently I'm not.
Shit, we got
All
some
right,
exposed
buddy.
going on in here.
I mean, you.
All
Come on,
right.
I gotta dunk on someone, right?
Hey, I'm just saying it's hard to reach out to you, dude. I reached out to your mods, but that's another story. But thanks for coming on, Hassan. I really do mean that. And thanks
No
for reaching
problem.
out to me.
Yeah, it was good meeting you, Hassan.
Yeah, nice to meet you guys.
So yeah, we're gonna go ahead. I was gonna open it up to chat for questions, but fuck it, we've gone so long at this point, and it's been a shit show. So maybe next time. But yeah, I'm gonna let you guys do your shout out shit, and Irrelevant, if you want to go ahead and take it away.
Yeah. Twitch.tv/irrelevant. I like philosophy. I like talking about the bullshit, just shooting the shit. I mean, I like a lot of the political stuff also, but like, I'm not gonna sit there and do like a study stream or go through anything like that. If you want to learn these studies and stuff like that, that's something you can do. For the most part of my own time, nobody wants to sit down. So, I mean, I'm just kind of kicked back, laid back, and all this. All right. So, y'all have a good one. Y'all have a great one. See y'all later.
You don't have to leave. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
It fucks up. It fucks up. No, yeah, just give yourself a shout out. We'll end it all together. I don't want you to fuck up all the tags I got going on here. So
That's why you don't want me to leave.
Bastier, if you want to go ahead and shout yourself out, dude.
Yeah, of course. Twitch.tv/Bastier. We have a whole lot of fun talking about law, politics, economics, history, and the occasional conspiracy theory call-in hour. So it's a whole lot of fun. Check us out. Look forward to talking to y'all soon.
Hell yeah, Pixie, go ahead.
So you can reach me at twitch./whatever PXIE Pixie. I like talking philosophy, politics, literally anything you want to ask me. I really don't have a life, and yeah, I'm glad I was here. I had fun, even if it was a mess. I had a lot of fun. So
I'm glad. I'm glad.
happy.
Hell yeah. Destiny, go ahead.
Hey, I'm Destiny. I don't do much politics or philosophy. I just play video games. So if you want to see good video games, my TV is twitch.tv/Destiny. That's me.
And Hassan.
Same as Destiny. I don't do any politics. I'm a big Trump supporter, and I love to watch Mormon dating shows. So if that's your cup of tea, then you can come find me at twitch.tv/Hasanabi.
Nice. Well, and me, I'm the host of the Big Brain Podcast. We're gonna be doing this every week now. If you don't know, tune in next Tuesday, 9 p.m. Central. Hopefully, we're not canceled by then, but you know, it is what it is. So yeah, thanks for everybody that came on and everybody that's not here still. But yeah, nonetheless, guys, I'll catch y'all later. But,
Have a good night, man. Thanks for having us.
Peace.
Yeah, definitely.
See you later.
Good job, guys. You all did great today.
Yeah, hey, it was good talking with you, Destiny.
Yeah, have a good one, buddy.
Be great to talk to you on your stream sometime if you're up for it.
Yeah, if there's ever like a particular issue, just shoot me a message and we can chat. All right.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Have a good night, man.
See you later. Oh shit! I need a. So I can call you. Would you prefer like anti-mandatory vaccine person or what?
No. Why don't